She agreed to marry a duke to save her family, but at the altar, an incredible truth was revealed. Emma stood before the mirror, adjusting the delicate lace veil that trailed behind her, her heart a whirlwind of emotions. The vintage gown, once cherished by her grandmother, felt both sacred and suffocating. She glanced outside the weathered barn, where friends and neighbors busily tied wildflowers and hung twinkling lights, their chatter filled with excitement for the wedding of their beloved town heroine. Yet, the joy felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, but it came at a price, the lifetime dreams she had sacrificed for her family ailing father, 3 younger siblings, and a claustrophobic sense of duty. Despite her emotional turmoil, the wedding brought with it a glimmer of hope, a chance to pull her family from the freezing abyss of bills and uncertainty. A wealthy duke meant financial stability, but at what cost? The tension that had been simmering over family dinners erupted in the days leading up to the wedding as her estranged mother argued fervently that love should always come first. "Emma, listen. This isn't just about money. It's about happiness," she exclaimed, her voice brimming with passion. Emma turned away, unable to confront the raw truth that shone through her mother's words. The days blurred into each other, filled with awkward silences and bitter arguments that made family dinners feel more like battlegrounds than gatherings. Maplewood buzzed beyond their crumbling home, alive with the excitement of parades and bake sales. Traditions that once thrilled Emma now felt like a reminder of all she was losing. As she adjusted the dress one last time, the scent of freshly cut grass and the gentle hum of cicadas reminded her of the innocence she had left behind. Just as the ceremony began, with the minister's voice echoing against the wood-paneled walls, Emma felt a jolt of certainty. This was her life. Breathless, she stood poised to take the leap into the unknown yet again, everything she sacrificed weighing heavily on her shoulders. But then, with a swoosh, the barn doors burst open. In burst Jake, her childhood friend, wearing worn jeans and a humble shirt, his eyes alight with urgency. "Emma, wait!" he shouted, the air crackling with electricity. A hush fell over the crowd, and gasps erupted. Surprise and concern etched on every face. Jake's presence lit a fire within her, bringing clarity to the chaos that had clouded her heart. "The Duke is bad news. He's planning to crush our town, destroy the small businesses that hold this community together." Each word hit like a drumbeat, echoing in the hearts of everyone there. Emma's breath caught in her throat. Could her desire for familial safety and stability, her sacrificing love, be built on such shaky ground? Her heart raced with confusion. The townspeople exchanged worried glances, and she could feel the pulse of their concern resonating among them, strangers she once knew so intimately. Emma stood at a crossroads, emotions churning violently within her. She locked eyes with Jake, standing strong and fervent, a beacon of love and authenticity amid the swirl of expectations. In that moment, her mind raced. Could she risk everything she had worked for? And yet, could she betray the very fabric of her beloved community? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The ceremony hung on a delicate balance, and Emma felt her heart beating louder than ever. This moment was more than a wedding, it was a reckoning. With her life poised at that altar, could she reclaim her future without sacrificing the heart that made Maplewood home? The air felt thick with her unanswered questions, and the gathering crowd held their breath in anticipation, waiting for an answer that may change everything. Emma's heart raced as she faced Jake. The weight of the world hung on her shoulders, and every eye in the barn seemed to pierce through her. The sun filtered through the cracks in the wooden barn, casting beams of light that swirled around her like the hopes and fears swirling within. "What do you mean he has bad news?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the thought of her wedding day crumbling around her. Jake took a step closer, his brow furrowed with intensity. I overheard him talking about plans to tear down the old parts of Maplewood, to replace everything with flashy stores that cater to the rich. He doesn't care about this community, he only wants profit. His words struck like lightning, both a warning and a plea. Emma's mind swirled, caught between the promise of financial security that the Duke offered and her love for the town that shaped her. She glanced back at the crowd, faces filled with confusion and disbelief. The laughter and anticipation that had filled the air moments ago had turned to a heavy silence, all waiting for her next move. Images flooded her mind, her father's ailing health, the struggling small businesses lit by flickering lights in the evenings, and her siblings playing in the streets, the sheer joy radiating from their innocent laughter. "But I need to protect my family," Emma murmured, her heart torn. It felt like 1,000 pieces of her were crashing against each other. "Your family, this town is more important than one man's fortune," Jake practically pleaded, his voice filled with determination. "You don't have to sacrifice love and hope for a false sense of security." The weight of obligation clashed with the fluttering hope inside her. Just then, she remembered the small moments spent at the diner with her siblings, the warmth of friendships that spanned years, the soothing familiarity of summer nights spent on the porch. That was home. With fierce resolve, Emma took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment to ground herself in the truth that blossomed in her heart. "You're right, Jake. I can't do this." She turned to the minister, trembling but resolute. "I cannot go through with this wedding. I won't marry the Duke." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Some looked shocked, others relieved, but everyone else was focused intently on her face, searching for hope, for a sign that they, too, could dream of a future where Maplewood thrived. As she stepped down from the altar, a rush of emotion coursed through her: fear, relief, exhilaration. But there was another sensation lingering just beneath the surface, a feeling of freedom clawing to break loose, a chance to rewrite the narrative of her life. Jake reached for her hand, his grip warm and steady, grounding her against the tumult. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice low and urgent. "I am," she replied, her voice gaining strength. "I want to fight for Maplewood. We need to gather the townspeople. We can stand against the Duke and make our voices heard." Cheers broke out from the crowd, simmering hope spreading like wildfire. Emma could feel the energy sparkling around her, igniting something within as she realized that they could all stand together, but an unexpected shadow fell over their moment of triumph. At the edge of the barn, the silhouette of the Duke appeared, a smirk playing on his lips. "You think you can stop me?" he called out, his voice dripping with confidence. "You have no idea what you're up against." A chill ran down Emma's spine. There was so much more at stake than she had imagined, and the fight for her town was only just beginning. "What have we walked into?" she wondered, grasping Jake's hand tightly as the air thickened with uncertainty. The battle lines were drawn, and the reality of their struggle loomed large. Would they be strong enough to protect what they loved most? As they stood united, more questions loomed ahead than answers. With the Duke's piercing gaze upon them and the weight of their community hanging in the air, Emma knew that the fight was far from over. The murmurs in the barn swelled to a cacophony, each voice tinged with hope and fear. Emma could feel the weight of the crowd pressing upon her, the energy vibrating through the wooden beams as if Maplewood itself was responding to her call. Yet, the presence of the Duke loomed over them like a dark cloud, ready to unleash a storm. "What will you do now?" Jake asked, a small frown creasing his brow. His eyes locked onto the Duke, who continued to smirk, a predator confident in his dominion. Emma took a step forward, her heart pounding. "We need a plan," she announced, her voice steady. "We can't let him dictate our future. Not now. Not ever." The crowd shifted, eyes wide with admiration and expectation. The energy in the barn crackled, igniting a spirit of defiance among her friends and neighbors. They believed in her, and their faith was a heavy mantle she was ready to wear, but the Duke cut in, his voice smooth like silk. "A plan, and what might that be, dear Emma? You think you can gather the townsfolk and stop progress? You'll need more than sheer will to challenge me." His arrogance made Emma's blood boil. "We'll need to rally the community. Together, we can show you that Maplewood isn't just a piece of land. It's a living, breathing entity that thrives on its history and the people who call it home." The crowd erupted into shouts of support, fists raised high. But the Duke remained unfazed, his expression a mask of amusement. "You're adorable, really," he chuckled, his gaze darting around the gathering. "But this isn't a fairy tale. I have the resources, the power, and the connections. The town you love will crumble before sunrise without my backing. You're chasing a ghost." Emma felt the anger rising within her, but as she looked at Jake, a determined calm washed over her. "Every great change starts with someone who believes," she told him, her conviction wrapping around her words like a lifeline. "If we can get enough people on our side, we can stop him." "Are you serious?" Jake's eyebrows arched, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Do you think it's possible?" A fire ignited in Emma's chest as she thought about all the good people in Maplewood, the store owners, the teachers, the farmers who depended on this town for their livelihoods. "We'll have community meetings, door-to-door conversations, anything it takes. I know we can do this. We have to." As she spoke, something shifted in the barn. The crowd began to chant her name, echoing through the space, their voices rising in strength. Emma's heart soared, but a weight still lingered in the back of her mind. The Duke's threat wasn't empty, he had the means to crush their spirits if they weren't careful. "Good luck getting support," the Duke replied mockingly, but there was an edge of annoyance creeping into his voice now. "I will make an example of any who dare to defy me." "No, you will not," Emma countered, her voice unwavering. "Not if we stand together." But as the energy grew in the barn, her mind flickered to the possible repercussions of their defiance. What if the Duke retaliated? What if, in fighting for Maplewood, she put her family in even more danger? The crowd buzzed with life around her, but doubt began to creep in. Jake noticed her hesitation, taking her hand once more. "We can take this risk, Emma. We won't be alone in this." Just as her spirits began to lift, a shadow eclipsed the sunlight filtering through the barn. A gruff voice spoke, drawing attention away from her. "Who's this intruder?" A tall man entered from the side, eyes flicking from the Duke to Emma, a look of determination in his expression. "I heard the commotion. What is going on here?" Emma felt the stir of hope again. Could this newcomer be the ally they needed? What will he bring to this fight? She wondered, her heart racing with both fear and excitement. Could this stranger be yet another pawn in the Duke's game or a key to their salvation? With uncertainty brewing anew, Emma felt the stakes heightening. She took a deep breath as she prepared to seek answers in a world that was changing faster than she could keep up with. Would they all emerge from this stronger, or would their effort lead to something far darker? The tension in the barn shifted palpably as the new arrival stepped forward, his rugged confidence contrasting sharply with the Duke's polished arrogance. Emma could feel the eyes of the crowd flit back and forth between the two men. There was something magnetic about this stranger, and she sensed he might hold a key to their future. "What's this all about?" the man asked, bravely stepping into the space that felt charged with conflict. His voice was deep, and it contained an urgency that resonated with the crowd, a rhythm they could follow to fight back against the Duke's looming threat. "We're fighting for Maplewood," Emma declared, her voice rising over the soft murmurs of the audience. "We refuse to let the Duke take away our home." The newcomer nodded, taking a second to gauge the crowd. His gaze settled on Emma, piercing and intense. "I'm Tom," he said simply, the weight of his name seemingly heavy with untold stories. "And I believe in this town. What do you need from me?" A sense of unity blossomed in Emma's chest. "We need to build support, gather people who care about this place, who know what it means to call it home. Can you help us?" "I can talk to the farmers and merchants. They respect my word. And I have connections on the other side," Tom replied, his determination evident. "But we must be careful. The Duke won't take kindly to your rebellion." Emma felt a wave of comfort wash over her at Tom's resolve. With enough voices, we can drown him out, she replied, a spark of hope igniting in her heart. We just need to prove to the town that there's power in standing together. The Duke, sensing the growing defiance, chuckled mockingly. You think mere words will protect you? I could strip this town of everything you cherish. You're naive, Emma. Danger is closer than you think. Or perhaps you're the one who underestimates us, Tom shot back, his stance firm. We're not backing down. The murmurs of agreement swept through the barn once again, igniting a fire Emma could see flickering in everyone's eyes. It felt powerful, united against the looming threat. Yet, somewhere deep inside, doubt continued to gnaw at her. Was she leading everyone into a battle they might lose? Suddenly, the silence fell like a blanket, broken by someone from the back. Mrs. Hargrove, a beloved old lady whose voice quivered with emotion. I've been in Maplewood my whole life. I remember how it once felt alive and bursting with love. We can't let it die just because of a man with money. Tears welled in Emma's eyes at the vulnerability of Mrs. Hargrove's words. This was it, this was their fight. Meanwhile, the Duke was shifting, clearly irritated. His eyes narrowed as he analyzed the crowd. You're going to regret this, he warned ominously before turning to leave, his presence still casting a dark cloud over the barn. As he walked away, Emma felt a chill run down her spine. We'll have to move quickly, she urged the crowd. We can't lose momentum. Let us meet every night until we're out there, rallying others. As the crowd erupted into applause, Emma's heart raced. She felt doubt mix with excitement, the stakes were high, and every word mattered now. But with Tom and her friends by her side, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something monumental. Tomorrow, we'll spread the word, she said, her voice strong. And we'll bring Maplewood back to life. With heads held high, they filed out of the barn, a wave of hope and determination rushing over them. But as Emma took a last glance behind, a desperation hung in the air, a shared fear, that somehow, amidst their resolve, the cost might be higher than they imagined, and just as the sun set, cloaking the world outside in shades of orange and purple, Emma felt a looming question settle in her gut. Would they be able to secure their future, or was darkness about to descend on Maplewood? As the cold chill of night wrapped around Maplewood, Emma felt the weight of what lay ahead heavy on her shoulders. The barn had emptied, but her thoughts were still crowded, filled with voices of encouragement mixed with those lingering doubts. Tom lingered beside her for a moment, updating her on the farmers he planned to reach out to. I'll go talk to Jake first thing in the morning. He's been pushing back against the Duke's prices lately. If anyone can rally people, it's him. Emma nodded, grateful for Tom's energy and fire. And I'll speak with the merchants. They need to understand what's at stake for them too. Together, we'll ignite something they can't ignore. His voice held steady conviction, but in his eyes, Emma detected a flicker of concern. They both knew the risk. As she returned home, the moonlight cast shimmers on the path ahead, creating a surreal feeling. Her mind was a jumbled mess of plans, hopes, and fears, but even in her darkest moments, thoughts of fighting back against the Duke burned bright. She could almost hear the echoes of the crowd, their voices united against the threat. When she entered her family's home, the familiar scent of fried chicken met her as her mother kept dinner warm at the table. You're back late, sweetheart. Just had a meeting in the barn, Emma replied, forcing a smile. You wouldn't believe it. We're rallying everyone. Her mother's eyes turned serious. I heard things are getting tense with the Duke. Yes, Emma's voice wavered. But we have a plan. We can fight for Maplewood. Emma, honey, her mother began, her tone laced with worry. I want you to be careful. This Duke is not just a man of words, he has power. What if he decides to retaliate? Then we face it together, Emma asserted, her grip tightening around the wooden chair. I want to let him take everything away from us. Her mother sighed, the flicker of a candle casting shadows on her face. Sometimes, the strongest battles are fought silently, without drawing attention. Emma considered her mother's wisdom but shook off the notion. They had felt silent long enough. That night, sleep evaded her. Images of the crowd rallied by her side danced through her mind, but they were accompanied by visions of the Duke's scornful laughter, dripping with sarcasm. What would he do if they truly stood against him? Morning brought a rush of new energy. Emma gathered with Tom and the others in the park, brainstorming strategies to expand their cause. One heart pulsed with the next, their determination unwavering. As they strategized, laughter erupted like music, keen to drown out the sounds of despair that had nearly silenced them before. Just as excitement filled the air, a distant shout broke the tranquility. A figure approached rapidly, wild-eyed and frantic. "Emma! You need to come quick." It was Sarah, an old friend from childhood. "The Duke's men, they're here." The gathering fell silent, fear washing over them. Emma's heart raced. "What do you mean? Here for what? Just come." Sarah urged, her voice trembling with urgency. Panic buzzed through the group. Emma's mind spun with the possible consequences of the Duke's retaliation. This was the moment of truth, and the stakes were growing perilously high. "Stay here," Emma commanded the others, her voice firm. "We can't show fear." Tom stepped closer. "I'll go with you. Whatever's happening, we'll face it together." With a deep breath, Emma nodded. They rushed toward the town square, the unexpected battle unfolding rapidly before them. What awaited them in those next moments could change everything. As they approached, Emma felt a surge of determination rising within her. But deep down, a question lingered in her heart. If they pushed against the Duke, what would they lose? Would they be prepared for the wrath that would surely follow? Emma and Tom raced through the streets, the cries of panic echoing ahead of them. As they neared the town square, the scene before them struck like a thunderbolt. A group of the Duke's men stood clustered, their dark uniforms a stark contrast to the vibrant colors of the townsfolk. The air buzzed with confusion and dread, people were gripping each other's arms, casting frightened glances toward the impending confrontation. "Emma!" Sarah cried, startling her from the chaos. "They're looking for you." "For me?" The weight of those words hung heavy in her stomach. "What do they want?" They heard about the meeting. "They're here to intimidate you all. To scare us into silence." Sarah's face was pale, her eyes wide. "Not if I have anything to say about it," Emma shot back, the fire igniting in her chest once more. She pressed forward with Tom at her side, feeling the energy of her friends stirring behind her. Each step brought clarity. As they burst into the square, the Duke's men stood shoulder to shoulder, glaring down at the small gathering of farmers and merchants who had come to defend their home. Emma locked eyes with the lead guard, a hulking figure whose presence felt like ice. "What do you want?" Emma called out, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. "We came to put an end to this nonsense," he answered, sneering as he stepped forward. "The Duke won't tolerate any more insurrection." Tom moved protectively beside Emma. "If you think we'll stand down, you're mistaken. We're united against his tyranny." The murmur of agreement rose like a wave from the crowd, emboldening Emma further. "This land feeds our families. Your lord's prices are unfair, and we will not back down. We have rights," someone shouted from the back, rallying others to join in, but the lead guard opened his mouth to retort, and Emma felt the tremor of anxiety around her. If she didn't act decisively, their burgeoning strength could be crushed. "We will not be intimidated. We will gather again and speak as one. You will hear our voices." The guard's lips curled into a sneer. "This is a warning, Emma. Don't test the Duke's patience. Next time, we'll come with more than just words." With that, he turned sharply, signaling his men to follow. They marched away, leaving a palpable silence in their wake. But as they departed, Emma felt her spirit soar. A flicker of hope ignited in the crowd. "Did you see that?" Tom exclaimed, pumping his fist into the air. "They're scared of us." Breathless voices began to echo, recalling their own stories of struggle and loss. A few more families emerged, standing tall beside them. "We need to plan protest meetings," Sarah suggested, filled with a fervor that Emma shared, yet even as her heart raced with potential victory, a chilling thought loomed. What if this was only the beginning of the Duke's retaliation? Would their newfound courage only invite further wrath? Suddenly, a figure appeared at the edge of the square. It was Mrs. Harper, the town's seamstress, clutching a tattered piece of parchment. "Emma! It's about the Duke." Her voice quivered as she approached. Emma's heart plummeted. "What is it, Mrs. Harper?" "Something's come to light about him, something you need to see." The air thickened around them, and uncertainty loomed over the gathering once more. Emma could feel her pulse quicken. What revelation lay in store? As the townsfolk stood on the precipice of change, Emma wondered if this new piece of information would push them closer to victory or plunge them deeper into danger. What truth could shake the very foundation of the Duke's power? Mrs. Harper stepped forward, the parchment trembling in her hands. Emma felt the weight of the crowd's gaze pressing down on her. Curiosity and fear mingled in the air. The fabric of history felt as though it would be woven anew in this moment. "What is it?" Emma urged, her voice softer now. The crowd leaned in, their breath held, awaiting the revelation that might change everything. Mrs. Harper unfolded the parchment with caution. "It's a copy of the Duke's ledger." It shows. She hesitated, her eyes darting over the words. "It shows that he has been embezzling from the town, taking money meant for our infrastructure and pocketing it instead." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Emma's heart raced. This was it. This could turn everything around. "Are you certain?" she asked, her mind whirring. "Absolutely," Mrs. Harper replied, resolve shining in her eyes. "I have neighbors who've seen him seal off shipments meant to be sent here. It reveals his true nature. He only cares for his wealth. This could prove we have a case to fight back." Excitement and disbelief swept through the gathered townsfolk. "We need to rally more people," Tom suggested, his enthusiasm contagious. "If we can show them this, right under the Duke's nose, we can make a stand." "Yes," someone shouted from the back. "We can organize a meeting tonight. Show everyone that we are not afraid." A thunderous applause broke out as Emma felt hope swelling in her chest. The fear that had lingered moments before seemed to dissolve, replaced by a vibrant energy. "Let's get everyone involved. We can't let this wind fall quiet," she proclaimed, her voice rising, yet, as she looked around at the eager faces, a gnawing anxiety crept in. What if the Duke retaliated for this? She was aware of the risk, and that fear threatened to choke the sparks of hope flaring in every heart around her. At the thought, her gaze returned to Tom. He was scribbling on a piece of paper, mapping out plans for the evening. "We need to gather people in the tavern," he said. "Make this loud. If we can stand together, if we can show that we have united as a town, the Duke will think twice before he lays his hand on us." Emma smiled, a mixture of pride and uncertainty filling her up. "But we can't just rely on this ledger. We need more. We need evidence of every one of his wrongdoings." "Leave that to me," Mrs. Harper said, determination etched on her face. "I know people. I'll gather what I can." As the townsfolk began to scatter, excitement coursing through them, Emma felt an ache in her heart. This revolution, this fight for their rights, would change everything, but at what cost? Before they dispersed, Emma raised her hand one last time. "Tonight, we gather as one. We must speak the truth, and we must be ready for whatever comes next." Nods of agreement traveled through the crowd. Enthusiasm surged, and the townspeople pushed away from the square, their spirits high. Tom reached for Emma's hand, giving it a squeeze. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together," he promised softly, but doubts flickered in her mind. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the cobbled streets, Emma couldn't shake the sensation that they were standing on the edge of something monumental. And deep down, she feared that all they had ignited could be blown out in an instant by the Duke's wrath. That night, as Emma prepared for the meeting, her heart raced with anticipation. What truth would be uncovered? And how far would they have to go to protect their families and their home? A battle was on the horizon, and she wasn't sure if they were all ready for it. The tavern was alive with chatter as townsfolk gathered under one roof, their hearts pounding with the same rhythm of hope and determination that pulsed through Emma. They filled every corner, the smell of ale and warm bread mingling with their nervous energy. Emma stood on a stool at the front, her hands gripping the edges for support. She scanned the crowd, feeling the warmth of their belief wrap around her like a comforting blanket. "Thank you all for coming," she called out, her voice cutting through the noise. It took a moment, but gradually silence fell. Faces turned toward her, eager for direction. She took a deep breath. "Tonight, we stand together. We have proof of the Duke's treachery." A wave of murmurs rippled through the room, igniting a spark of excitement. "Mrs. Harper has uncovered the ledger showing his embezzlement. This is our chance to take back what is ours." Cheers erupted, but Emma held up a hand to calm them. "I know we are excited, but we must approach this carefully. The Duke is not someone to take lightly. We cannot act rashly, or it will cost us dearly." Tom stepped forward, craning his neck to see above the crowd. "Emma's right. We need to unite our voices and our resources. We can gather more evidence against him, and we will." He clenched his fists, his passion fueling the room. "We can turn this anger into a movement." Another voice broke through, tinged with fear. "But what if he retaliates?" It was a woman from the back, her face pale under the soft tavern lights. Emma's heart ached at the worry that clung to her like a shadow. Her own fears echoed in that question. What if he decides to silence us? The fear was palpable. The crowd shifted uneasily, glances exchanged, doubt creeping back in. Emma stepped off the stool and moved through the crowd, her gaze steady as she spoke. "I want to dismiss those fears. They are real. But we also have each other. We are stronger together. If we stay silent, we let him win. We can create change. Together." With a new wave of energy swelling in the room, people nodded, raising their glasses. Emma watched as courage began to spark in their eyes. Each story shared tonight would solidify their bravery. Each voice raised against the Duke would echo far beyond these walls. Mrs. Harper stood up, her gaze fierce. "I've already reached out to fellow townsfolk who've been wronged. They will join us. We'll compile records, gather testimonials. We will build our case from the ground up." Emma smiled at her, gratitude pouring from her heart. They had a plan. Slowly, confidence wrapped its arms around her. "Let us break into groups then. We gather evidence, we share our stories, and tonight, we will forge what comes next." Just as the crowd began to buzz with the new plans, the door swung open with a deafening creak. Silence fell like a heavy fog, all eyes turning toward the entrance. The outline of a tall figure, cloaked and imposing, stood framed in the doorway. Emma's breath caught in her throat. It was the Duke. He smirked, a glint of malice in his eyes as he scanned the room. "How delightful to see a gathering of rats. I wonder what sort of schemes you think you can hatch without my knowledge." Fear gripped Emma's heart, yet she sensed the crowd's determination solidify. They weren't going to back down. Not now. "Do you want to know my true opinion of your little rebellion?" he continued, stepping into the tavern and shutting the door behind him. Emma recognized that voice, the threat carried within, and her instincts screamed that this was just the beginning. What consequences would come from this confrontation? What dark truths lay beneath the surface of his sinister smile? "Let us see how far you go." The words hung heavily in the air, echoing with the promise of chaos to come. Emma felt a cold chill shoot down her spine as the Duke's presence filled the room, his cloak swirling around him like a dark storm cloud. The tavern that moments before had been brimming with hope and purpose now felt suffocating, heavy with mounting tension. It was as if the air itself vibrated with dread that he took a step forward, the flickering lantern light casting menacing shadows on his face. You think your little chat here matters? I have eyes and ears everywhere. The foolhardy rebellion of a few disgruntled townsfolk will be nothing but a whisper in the wind. His voice dripped with disdain, echoing through the assembled crowd. Emma could feel the energy shift, fear starting to wrap around the hearts of the townsfolk. Faces that had been fierce moments ago now faltered, uncertainty creeping in. She wouldn't let that happen. Your control ends tonight. She shouted, grounding herself in the conviction that had brought them all together. We know what you've done. You may hold power now, but your time of reckoning is coming. People are tired of living in fear. The Duke raised an eyebrow, his amusement flickering momentarily before darkness enveloped his expression. You think bold words will protect you? This isn't play, girl. You're in over your head. I'm not afraid of you. Emma exclaimed, though her heart raced. Her voice, shaky but resolute, broke the tension for just a moment, igniting a spark among the crowd. Tom, emboldened by her bravery, stepped forward, fists clenched. We have nothing left to lose. You've taken everything from us. Families are hungry. You think you hold all the cards, but we are rising up. We're gathering evidence, and with it, we'll dismantle your empire of lies. The crowd echoed with murmurs of agreement, the spirit of unity rekindling itself within the hearts of the townsfolk. The Duke's smirk faltered slightly, revealing a flash of annoyance. Do you truly believe that moving against me will bring you anything but ruin? I could make your lives a living hell without breaking a sweat. He sensed the growing defiance and preferred intimidation, tightening his grip on their fear, but Emma refused to back down. You may think you are untouchable, but your lies will catch up with you. We will not be silenced. A few courageous voices from the crowd joined together, echoing Emma's words, swelling in volume. The tavern vibrated with courage, a collective heartbeat rising against their oppressor. Enough. The Duke barked, his voice a thunderclap. You think you can rouse the masses? I will have everyone who aligns with you punished. You'll bring only suffering to those you claim to protect. Emma's heart ached at the thought, but she pushed it aside. You underestimate the strength of our community. We trust each other, and we will fight back, she declared, aware that hope was the strongest weapon of all. The Duke took a step closer, the distance between them charged with unspoken challenges. If you want to fight, then I will be the one to decide how this ends. Consider this your warning. As he turned on his heel to leave, a heavy silence descended upon the tavern. Emma's mind raced, swirling with the potential consequences of this clash. What lengths would the Duke go to protect his power? Will you stand with me? She asked the townsfolk, scanning the faces around her. Will you join me in this fight? The crowd erupted, voices roaring in unity. They were not backing down. Emma felt a surge of warmth flood her chest, but a heavy weight still lingered in the air. They were far from victory, and she knew this confrontation would only be the beginning of something much more dangerous. As the Duke's laughter echoed outside, a chilling thought crossed Emma's mind: was this truly a fight they could win? And as they prepared for what was to come, a single question loomed in all their hearts: at what cost were they willing to change their fate? The night of the confrontation echoed in Emma's mind like a relentless storm. The tavern now stood silent, every corner shadowed by tension and uncertainty. Slowly, the power of the Duke's declaration faded, leaving the townsfolk filled with a mix of adrenaline and dread. Emma stood tall, but her heart pounded with unshakable fear. Gather your strength, she urged. This time, we will not back down. We know what we stand for. The crowd, once shaken, began to pulse with a newfound determination. As whispers of unity spread, Emma could feel their resolve igniting like a spark catching dry grass. She turned her eyes to Tom, who stood firm beside her, face set with purpose. What now? He asked, though the determination in his eyes told her he was already ready to fight. We prepare, Emma replied, her voice gaining power. We need every ounce of evidence against the Duke. We gather stories, proof of his deceit, and we spread the word to the neighboring towns. We show them that Maplewood will not be silenced. Nodding in agreement, Tom summoned the crowd's attention. Emma's right. We need to bring everyone together, and we can't just rely on the mayor or the officials who have been bought out. We need the voice of every single person in this town. We will document every wrong he has committed, and it will be the truth that cuts deeper than any threat. The energy electrified the room, hope racing through their veins like fire. Emma felt her heart swell, the fear of defeat slowly giving way to the thrill of purpose. Late into the night, they formed teams to scour the town: journalists, old friends, neighbors, and even the kids who had taken to collecting information in the form of hearsay, tying it all together in a web of readiness. The community's heartbeat grew louder as they stood together, finding strength in one another. Days turned into weeks as they gathered their evidence. Emma listened intently to stories of struggles: families who had lost their businesses to the Duke's greed, children who had been unable to enjoy the simple pleasures of life because their parents were working 3 jobs to keep the lights on. Each voice fueled another. One evening, exhausted but exhilarated, Emma sat with Tom and Mrs. Harper as they pieced together their final findings. "You all have done something incredible. You've put the pieces into a coherent story," Mrs. Harper said, her voice warm with pride as she flipped through the collected papers. "We will make them listen." Heartened by her words, Emma felt the reality of their diligence blossom. "We will march into that town hall and demand justice. It's not just about Maplewood anymore, it's about all communities that are being crushed under greed." Finally, the day arrived. Emma stood at the town hall, flanked by her fellow townsfolk, each face filled with purpose and resolve. They could feel the weight of the Duke's words lurking like a ghost, but today, their minds were clear. With each chant vibrating through the air, Emily felt confidence swell. "Together we rise," she led, "together we fight." As they flooded the hall, demanding answers and accountability, the townspeople united their voices against the Duke's grip, shouting in a song of revolt that shook the very foundation of his empire. When the Duke appeared, all eyes turned to him, defiance palpable in the room. With a calm she didn't quite feel, Emma stepped forward. "You're finished trying to control us. We have gathered not just stories, but truth." She held up the ledger with shaking hands. "These documents show your deceit. We will expose you." The room burst into applause and shouts of agreement. The unease on the Duke's face deepened as he realized they were not backing down. "You think a few papers will bring me down?" He scoffed, but Emma was resolute. "Your reign of terror ends today," she shouted, her heart racing but steady. The embrace of her community surrounded her, their belief strengthening her conviction. At first, his smirk faltered, then turned hard. "You'll regret challenging me. You're meddling in forces you don't comprehend." "But..." Emma would not waver. "You don't scare us anymore. The strength in our community cannot be diminished. We will fight until there is justice." As tensions escalated, she felt a cool confidence settle over her. This fight wasn't only for her town, it was for every family longing to exist free from fear. And as the noise continued, something remarkable happened. The townsfolk banded together to hold their ground. The Duke, realizing he was losing control, began to stumble backward, uncertainty creeping into his demeanor. Shouts of support rang through the hall, igniting a fierce fire within Emma's heart. This was more than just a rebellion, it was hope in action. They stood united, voices rising with passion, and the whispers of solidarity echoed throughout Maplewood. Each heartbeat became the anthem for their fight, a fierce declaration of love for their home and each other, and when the dust settled, when the fight became the story of their town, they would each be a part of something that transformed every choice they had made. They were no longer bound by obligation alone but were fueled by a driven purpose to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. In that moment, standing alongside her community, Emma knew they had already won. Fear dissipated, replaced with a heart full of hope, determination, and the fierce belief that love for each other and for their town was the most potent weapon of all. It would be the tale echoed through the ages, of a united town rising against darkness, holding tightly to the values of family, friendship, and unwavering spirit. So as they steadied themselves, ready for the fight ahead, Emma faced the dawning light with a radiant smile. "Maplewood is home," she declared, "and we are its heart." And that heart was beating loud and clear, a defiant, beautiful symphony of togetherness that would never be silenced again. Now, this is the time to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show you care. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this ending, we want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need a spark of hope. Only true fans understand the importance of standing with the channel through these actions. Join us in celebrating this community and the fight for love and justice.